Hello there, and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday for the HeartWise Academy. My name is Paula Robbins, and I am one of the faculty here at HeartWise Academy. I am also a metaphysical hypnotherapist and a soul coach. I've been in practice for about 15 years, and I come with a background of overcoming a great deal in my own life. I overcame a great deal of childhood abuse and neglect, a lot of self-abuse in the works of alcoholism and drug addiction. And then 34 years ago, I stepped onto a path of healing. I got into recovery. I really stepped into exploring spirituality. And over these 34 years, I've explored a lot of spiritual works to heal so that I can be a healthier person in my life and in my relationships. And one of the things that HeartWise Academy fully represents is health in your relationships. I think the majority of the focus is on our significant others, but I really feel that so much of what is offered with HeartWise Academy kind of applies across the board in all of our relationships, our siblings, friends, children, neighbors, people that we are in relationship with professionally. So one of the things that we are offering here with HeartWise are these simple discussions on Wisdom Wednesday. And a couple of weeks ago, Ruth and Jim did a Wisdom Wednesday kind of talking about conflict resolution, and that's kind of our topic for the month of October. And they talked a lot about some of the most valuable tips that I think are really helpful. And just to give you a synopsis, the summary, a couple of them that I really took away from that conversation were: one, forgiveness, which sometimes can be very difficult. But two, more importantly, is what's really going on underneath the hurt feelings or the anger or the cause of the conflict. And really kind of exploring within ourselves. And that's kind of where I'm going with my conversation here today. So first and foremost, let me just say that conflict itself in relationships, it's inevitable. There will be disagreement. It's part of what makes us human. And it's one of the most beautiful aspects of humanity is different opinions. We can learn a lot from each other if we can be still, listen, honor, consider each other. And over the years of my own healing journey, one of the things that came beautifully clear to me was, one, I was really struggling in relationships. And as I had done more and more healing, layer after layer, year after year, decade after decade, I started realizing that I was managing my relationships in a healthier way, that I was more graceful, even when I was angry. And not always, I'm human, but for the most part, I don't fear confrontation. I don't avoid it. I walk into having conversations that are sometimes very uncomfortable because I think it's healthy. And people started noticing. People that love me dearly, people that I'm very close to, they were telling me, you just seem more peaceful. And so this message started coming clear to me in my own mind: graceful confrontation. And again, I had struggled in relationships. So one of the things that occurred to me over the years is that there's these couples out there, like Ruth and Jim, who've been together for 52 years, which I think is so wonderful. And I so admire and love their dynamic. They don't always agree, but how they manage their communication, their disagreement, is beautiful. And I think often pretty graceful. So one of the things that I started doing years ago, I don't know how long ago, at least 20 years ago, when anyone shared with me that they had been in a relationship long term, and it appeared as though they still liked their significant other, I wanted to ask them, how do you do it? What is it that keeps you together for a long duration? And, there were always different answers, but what I surmised over all of these conversations, because it's a very informal study, but it was something kind of like a survey I conducted over the years. that I realized was that many of them, they learned that their partner was going to change. So they all talked about accepting their partner as they are. And they all talked about how they're going to, they have evolved and they've changed, but at the core of their being, the core of their soul, is still the soul that they love. And one of the things that I've witnessed in couples that don't stay together is that they really struggle with the other's change. Well, they used to do this in the beginning, and it used to be like this in the beginning, and it's changed so much. Well, the only ever constant in life, in humanity, in your soul and mine, is change. We're going to change. We're going to evolve. So if we can accept these evolutions and these changes and still love our partner with all the changes, then we're going to have a much stronger chance at managing and staying in these relationships. But conflict is still going to be inevitable. So it's really important that we consider, how do we manage that? And one of the thoughts that occurred to me as I've been kind of considering what would I say in this Wisdom Wednesday is that experience after a conflict, after an argument, after raising our voice, after feeling a little bit stumbled in the heart of a conflict. What do I say? And our afterthoughts, after we've had some time to calm down, our emotions have shifted, we've had some time to process what we really think and how we really feel. And oftentimes we have this, well, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that, or gosh, I wish I wouldn't have said this or that. So one of the messages, again, that I carry in the world, and I think one of the reasons Ruth and Jim invited me to create this Wisdom Wednesday is that one of the greatest messages I have in the world is graceful confrontation. And I created that micro course for HeartWise Academy. That's what makes me faculty. And one of the messages in the world that I like to carry is that we can have really honest, heartfelt conversations, even confrontations, and we can still do it gracefully. We can be angry and graceful at the same time. We can be hurt and graceful at the same time. And in the course that I created, I put together a few tips. I mean, there's not enough time to go into it here, but I will just give you kind of the gist that there are ways that we can really just move into a place of healthy avoidance of confrontation. And what that looks like, it doesn't mean avoiding confrontation because, again, it's inevitable, but it means what are some of the ways that I can conduct myself in living my life in a healthier way so that confrontation's not as much a part of it. And that's, again, one of the things that I learned in my own healing journey. I don't want to be in conflict so often. I don't want to be creating any of this, or attracting any of this, or allowing any of this. So I have to look at my side of the street. And how am I walking my walk? How am I speaking? How am I conducting myself? So that I am avoiding creating conflict. And one of the second components of this little course I put together is what are some of the things that we can do if we know a difficult conversation is coming. And how do we prepare for that? And one of the simple tips in my micro course is pause. Take some time to process your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and really get clear on what's yours and what's part of the conflict. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, is what are some of the things that we can do in the midst of a conflict? And one of the most important things is just to be mindful of our tone. When we are in the heart of a conflict, it's very easy to raise our voice, to perhaps use foul language, to roll our eyes, and those things can worsen that conflict in a heartbeat. So if we can stay grounded and we can stay clear and we can be mindful of our presentation, of our thoughts, of our emotions, of our feelings, then chances are we're going to have a much more effective conversation / confrontation and manage that conflict in a much greater state of resolution. So I hope this is helpful. I hope that you consider looking at my course, Graceful Confrontation. I hope that you consider taking a bigger look at the HeartWise Academy and all that they're offering to support you and your loved ones, significant others, and then some. Again, I hope this was helpful. So if you'd like to ask any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. You can find me at paularobbins.com. You can also take a look at my larger scale of offerings on sunlitpathways.com. And then, of course, you can go to HeartWise Academy and see all the many offerings that are available to you there, including mine, the micro course on graceful confrontation. So grateful to have had your time. Thank you for the honor of that. And I hope to see you soon.